All right. And we are back with episode 2 of The Spiritual Philosopher. I got my brother here, Scotty.
Hello, how are you?
The one and only from, we want to introduce, I can't pronounce it, and forgive me, because I always have a tongue twister. Maybe it's my accent, but.
No, it's okay, because
so
I get a little bit too metaphorical in the things I create. So my brand is Scott T, because people need to identify my brand with me, and it is Orc Unity. And then I'm also associated, and I'm a co-host on the TIP Network, the Happiness Podcast Project.
Which I love, by the way. I love hearing you and your buddy Grover just vibe off each other, and I really enjoyed those episodes. I think I want to start off right into it, man. Like, I don't know, I'm just vibing with you right now. So I understand, based off your content that you are have created, and that where you have, on the videos I've seen in the past, you've come a long way. You've had your own hero's journey. You've had your own difficulties and your own, how do I say this? Your own encounters with life that like really took you and helped you grow. And so I really wanted to know, what was the main thing that got you going?
What was the main thing that got me going? So number one is that I felt lost in life and I didn't know which direction I wanted to take. There was a traditional path of going to school.
Yeah.
And I still believe that people should take that path. And I'll have to say I was pretty a stupid and stubborn kid at the same time.
We're
We're
all like,
we definitely are.
I'm stubborn as hell. I know that for a fact. I'm a Sagittarius.
Me too. That's probably why.
Oh, that's why we like
yeah.
that fire. No.
So with my childhood, it was quite a rough childhood because I was living with my mother at the time, and my father and her were separated, and there was a lot of issues during that whole time period. So I basically had a no father during my childhood. And it's kind of weird to like reflect on. And then living with her, she was a gambling addict. So eventually I got to live with my dad and my stepmom, who to me is like my mother. You know, my birth mother's my mother, and my stepmom is my mother too.
Okay.
And from there, for some odd reason, I never found the school path was like my path. And nothing ever resonated to me that was interesting, because I felt like I wanted to do more in the world. And so my father was a police officer. And so I thought, oh, that sounds exciting. And not only that, but I can also help people. And I want to help kids that was in my position when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so that's what the path I went down. But obviously I didn't become a police officer, and I kind of went off course.
How was that, being raised by a police officer?
Well, you know, my dad, he had an accident in 97. So I've seen him in his uniform. I've been around him, but I was also living with my birth mother during that time.
Yeah.
And so during that time period, he was injured, so he was not on the force anymore. So he was a retired police officer and retired service person. And so when I came out, like, I have great respect to police officers, because every time I see a person in a uniform, I think of my father. So but then eventually I got myself into the marijuana industry. So, you know, at one point I wanted to be a police officer, and then I flipped the script. But that was where, because I wanted to help people, but I didn't know how, and I didn't have anything that I was interested in. And I didn't really have a guidance or mentors along the way. Like it's a kind of a running joke between Grover and myself, but Grover was kind of my mentor. Like taught me like about manhood in a sense, where like how to control my emotions.
You got to get it from where you can get it, man. Like,
exactly, because you know my brother was more of a comic book nerd.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just a different upbringing. But yeah, but eventually I fell into like this depressive state. I'm not saying I had depression, but it felt like that. And then I took some psychedelics.
Okay.
And then that made me kind of like go, whoa, like I need to get my life together.
Broke the threshold?
Yeah.
Nice.
The threshold.
In case you don't know what the threshold is, find it out for yourself. That's all I can say. Pretty much, long story short, there's a certain threshold that you pass in psychedelics, and that's when you start going from just having a trip into a metaphysical spiritual experience. That's the threshold that everyone talks about. So if you haven't experienced that threshold, and if you're curious, I will talk about psychedelics on another day, but just know that I'm all for it. I'm for it here. I believe that everyone should at least find their own. I mean, I'm not saying everyone should take psychedelics, no, but in case you need healing, there's other medicines out there other than pharmaceuticals. I find it interesting that you, not even interesting, I was just like, I'm flabbergasted right now because I did not know this about you. I did not know your dad was a police officer. I did not know that you had family members. Like, so I thank you for opening up about that. I can see now how that could have brought you more, how can I say this? How it pulled you down with all that weight of having your dad and then your mom and anyone who was in your situation. I don't know how it is to be under your skin, but I can only imagine that having that pressure, having that heartbreak of seeing a family member, because I have seen family members addicted to something else, not gambling, but addictions. Yeah. And I can relate with that, and I vibe with that, and I have to take a time to just say thank you for opening up about that, because that's really hits home for me. Damn. Wow. You're just hitting me back with this one. I was supposed to be talking to you about this, but damn. So you tried the cannabis industry, and then would you say after the cannabis industry, well, you say you took psychedelics after the cannabis industry? This was
before, actually.
Before, oh, okay.
Before, because like I've never done any sort of drugs before. The first time I smoked was I was 26 years old. And this was after I had
smoked
marijuana.
Okay, marijuana.
A patellar tendon rupture. Basically, your kneecap, my kneecap went up to my quad, and they had to reattach my kneecap back to my tibia. God. So your leg has to go up, right? Yeah. So they had to reattach to that. And during that time period, they had me on hydrocodone and some other derivative of Vicodin, and it really wasn't working, right? Yeah. Like, it was hurting, and the doctors didn't really want to prescribe me even more. But like, I was in actual pain where it felt like ants were eating into my knee, right? Shit. So then my girlfriend at the time, she gave me marijuana. She's like, why don't you just try to smoke? And I was totally against smoking, mind you.
Weren't we all when we first started?
Because I was still trying to become a police officer and everything too, right? So I was like, I'm going to be clean. And then finally, I just gave into the pain. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try something. Then the first hit I took was from this fat bong, right?
Holy shit.
Just super fat bong. Just this. And she just totally didn't tell me to take it easy. And I'm in this agitated, painful state. Well, anyway, I fell to the side because we're in bed. I fell to the side because I guess the smoke inhalation knocked me out. And all of a sudden I felt this outer body experience, and I'm looking down at myself with this weird, if you ever seen Pitch Black with Vin Diesel, how the aliens, they can see, and
exactly.
If you ever look at how an alien looks at Vin Diesel in Pitch Black, it looked like that, and I was just like, what the fuck?
So you pretty much astral projected.
It was weird. And then all of a sudden I jumped back in my body. It was more of the combination of me jumping back into my body, and as well as I'm going what the and I popped up and I looked around the room. I'm like, oh my God. And the room would just look so vivid. The colors, it was popping out. It just felt like the room was like reality. We had flesh to it.
Holy shit.
And then I didn't feel my pain after that. So that was a good thing.
That's a plus.
So anyway, that was once that happened and I started doing the psychedelics, and going back to what you're saying about the psychedelics and how it's not exactly the tool that everyone should use. It's a tool that should be explored, but in a controlled setting. I really believe that.
A tool, yeah.
I really believe that, because I started to use it to escape my reality.
Yeah.
And when I used that to escape my reality,
you are not alone on that one.
Then I got really depressed, and then I had some bad trips, which were great when I think about it, reflect.
The worst trips teach you the most.
Oh, yeah.
I learned that the fucking hard way, dog.
They teach you the most about your shadow side, who you are as a person. The things saying why are you blaming all these other people for your own mistakes?
Exactly.
Be accountable to yourself. Why you keep coming back into this realm? So,
man, I find it interesting that you had a psychedelic experience with just marijuana. I mean, not to make this about psychedelics, but I myself, I tell everyone, even with marijuana, it's a psychedelic as well.
It's a hallucinogen.
It fucks with not fucks, but it messes with your chemicals in your head and all that good stuff. Releases dopamine and serotonin and all that good stuff. But for me, I can't even do it too much. I stopped because I was starting to have my own trips, and I was like, okay, I've already tripped too much, and I don't want to lose myself a little bit, because it's addicting. It is addicting. No matter what, if it's a pharmaceutical or a psychedelic, it can be addicting in the sense that you can disagree or agree with me, but there comes a time when you feel like you're in euphoria and you want to go back.
Oh yeah.
And you just are like, damn, anything to just go back to that euphoria. And it's not even like a horrible crash. That's the worst and beautiful thing about it is like you don't have a horrible crash like hard drugs. That like you'll come back and you're like shaking and shit. No, like you come back, you're like, I love me. That was a good experience.
Because that's how I started getting addicted to it. And addicted to, I was doing it like every once, couple weeks or whatever, but I was also doing a lot of MDMA, just being around Grover a lot. MDMA, but from that experience, what was I saying? The psychedelics. So during that time period, I was always questioning, like, I felt like there was a higher power. Yeah. But when I got into there, now we can go into a debate or interpretations, whether that's talking to your deeper subconscious levels of the self and all that. But for me, in my perception, this is just my own subjective perception opinion, it was like God to me. Like I felt like I was able to experience God in all its form. Ooh. And that's how I experienced it. And that's when I started to do it a lot because I wanted to escape my reality. I didn't know what to do in this reality. Like I had no purpose. Yeah. But I wanted to be back with the creator in that sense. Yeah. So I kept trying to escape my reality going back there. And then that's when the bad trips were happening because whatever was on the other side, whether it was my highest self, whether it was the subconscious levels of my brain, whether it was neurochemicals popping off in my neurology, the thing was, it was like, why are you still coming back here? We given you the visions. You know what you need to do now. So why don't you start doing it now?
Damn.
You know? And and that's when I would say I actually woke up that second time. And like, it's like, there's a series of awakenings and there's never a stopping of awakenings. So people say, oh, we're woke and stuff. Like, no, you're not woke.
You fall back asleep
you
too.
You fall back asleep. You get drowsy again. Yeah. And then something else wakes you up.
Vibing off of what you just told me right now, I feel like how I would interpret it is that I consider life as a Matrix. I love the Matrix movies, and you're gonna hear me reference that a lot on this podcast. But like, I literally feel like we live in, especially here in the Bay Area, we're in the middle of the core network of the Matrix. They even say that in the movie. Like, we're in the mainframe, and it's San Francisco, out of all fucking places.
Yeah, down on 101.
Down on 101, and I always drive by it, and I always like put a little Snapchat. I'm not driving when I do that, but I put a Snapchat and say, look, this is where not Fast and Furious, oh my god, where the Matrix was recorded. And I was like, damn. And so I could see that whole systemic and being conditioned, and I am with it, and I love it. I do hear though, and even in your tone of your voice, I do. This is not judgment here, but I do hear like a little bit of left side dominant trying to like override and say.
I get that a lot.
The left side dominant is like, no. Well, this can also be chemicals. It could also be this.
I'm very much into the science, the tech. Like, I don't think spirituality should be separated from tech. I really don't.
Yeah, and so like it's really fascinating to see you like physically like in front of me trying to like internally debate, okay, should I go spiritual or should I go logical? Reason, spirit, thumos, reason.
No, it's right, because like this, have you heard about self-actualization?
Yeah.
By Abraham Maslow. So self-actualization, like real quick, it's the reconciliation between, let's say, chaos and order. And from Jordan Peterson, chaos and order, when the reconciliation of both is being, life is being. And so self-actualization, when you can find something that you truly love doing and it's actually paying you and it's bringing you life and it makes you appreciate and grateful for life, that's the reconciliation of the dangers in the environment, but is made manifest through you being grateful for the experience that you can even perceive that danger. So it's like, that's to me is like, that's what it felt like. It was my brain from the left side to the right side is attempting to rationalize some of the more spiritual aspects of what I've experienced. And to me, like, I'm doing my best to reconcile that, where I want to do as much as I can to promote like blockchain technologies into media technologies, the content creator economy, but not lose the touch with the spirituality that we have here. Because, go ahead.
No, I don't mean to interject. It's just, so based off, now that I've heard about your past and a little bit closer, not present, but it's in your present. I would say what I feel and vibe off of you is also, I love the fact that you also not just separate from the blockchain technology that you make your videos on, you do make videos about personal development, about finding yourself and so going back to the subject that, or not subject, but to the story you were giving me. So would you say that everything that you went through when your depressive state and then having the psychedelics help you, give you the tools that you needed, helped you get to where you're at now in personal development?
To be frankly honest,
yeah,
absolutely. And I see, this is where you're going to see the paradox of it, because I don't want to be a promoter of that. I don't want to make it seem like this is what kids should take or whatever. Exactly. Like, no, it's like, to me, it's a tool, and it's for higher spirituality, and it's for higher creative abilities to get into your creative faculties and your reasoning abilities. And it's fun, but I really see it as a tool more than anything else. And it absolutely did help me. But I could also see if I had allowed my willpower to be weakened and to be seduced by the dark side to my own insecurities, I could see how that would even cause me to go into a downward spiral. So it's a very powerful tool. It
is a very powerful tool, and should be wielded by those who, well, not even wielded. It's like you should take it with the utmost respect. That's what I wanted to say. Respecting the medicine, respecting that it does come, a lot of it does come from indigenous tribes. A lot of it does come from sacred plants, especially like MDMA, for example. It comes from a tree. People don't know this.
The sarsaparilla tree.
Shh, you're not supposed to say that. Actually, people who look for that tree and try to like
is it
cultivate
extinct,
it.
Or is it still?
No, so like there's business. There's actually like research that is being done with MDMA currently, and so
that's right.
A lot of people want rights to those trees because they want enough supply to support the research. But then you have random people. This is an issue even with ayahuasca, for example. Like there's people who are literally running to the freaking South America and just chopping off ayahuasca plants without respecting that. Like, hey, no, why are you cutting it from the root? No, cut it from here or cut it from there. Like the indigenous tribe would know this. They would know you cut it this way, you cut it that way, you mix it with this and that. But random ass people are just really showing up and just saying, oh, I want ayahuasca. I want to get.
And I want to do as much as we can to start to educate and eliminate those behaviors, because with a tool like that, it's very spiritual, but at the same time, it unlocks a lot of things in you, your mental aptitude, because I've never was interested in tech. I was never interested in learning about quantum physics or cosmology, the actual science. We're not talking about the woo-woo science. I know that too. But at the same time, it like the metaphysics, like law of attraction, but then figuring out like, okay, if this is the law of attraction, what is it in quantum physics, quantum mechanics that can match with that?
The law of attraction, like if they knew all of it, and I'm like, I don't even know it.
And then also to spot the inconsistencies when people try to cloak quantum metaphysics with quantum mechanics. It's like, wait, that's not the real science though. That doesn't make sense. So like that's why this whole psychedelics made me literally wake up, open my mind to, man, there's a lot of things I want to learn and I need to get to learn, you know.
So what I appreciate is that you make those videos about holistic health, and also you've been diving a little deeper into your spiritual side that I've noticed on your videos, and a lot of them, I love the whole graphics that you're doing now. You're using motion graphics and everything, and I'm like, whoa, I wish I couldn't. I'm going to learn someday, but I got a lot on my plate, but I appreciate that. And I also want to go deeper in the sense that, so when you were going on your hero's journey, and when I mean a hero's journey, you probably know this, but for the people at home who don't know what hero's journey is, so imagine like any tribe, any culture, any initiation, everyone has to go through their own hero's journey. Whether you want to believe this or not, I hold with this. Everyone has their hero's journey. Now it's up to you if you want to fall and not do it, because you can just keep denying it, pushing it back and saying, oh yeah, no, next time. Or you are faced with, for example, COVID, and you have to reflect and dive into the abyss. And so I think I'm like beating around the bush here, and I want to get to it and just saying, what was your abyss? What was that pit of darkness that you had to jump into in order to come out?
So,
and it's okay. If you can give me as much as you want or as less as you want, I respect it. I'm here for it. But this episode is the hero's journey, and I want to hear your hero's journey. And I really feel that because of your hero's journey that you've been through, someone who's listening is going to reflect and say, damn, that guy's doing it. Because you are, like, after your hero's journey, you're here right now. You are alive. You are living proof that you're sitting right in front of me. You did not fail your hero's journey, because failure would have, for most people, would have been death. In most tribes, they when they initiate, they drop them off in the Amazon, or in the Amazon or in the forest, and they leave them in the forest for 3 days, and they have to find themselves, and they have to find food. They have to go through all of that trials and tribulations, and then come back. And so I think that's where I want to ask my main question for you, because I'm curious, but I'm also fearful a little bit, because I'm like looking in your eyes right now, and it's like, I know I'm asking you a lot right now. I know I'm asking you something really powerful. So I'm going to shut up and I'm just going to hear you now.
Well, okay. So I started getting into the marijuana industry, like I've told you. And I got out of my depression. I got back into my body, started to work out, work to get myself back into a better physical state, mental state, emotional state, all those states, spiritual state, all that, right? And then I got into the marijuana industry when I moved down to LA. And during that time period, I moved down there so I can become a personal trainer and work on YouTube. That was literally the two goals.
Yeah.
But somehow I got seduced towards the money side of the marijuana industry. And when I got seduced in that way, I said to myself, I need to make myself look like a success before I go on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that led me to doing lots of crazy things, getting into crazy situations, meeting people that weren't good for me, but I wasn't good for them. And it culminated to a point where I'm at a place where I shouldn't be, and I get received, like, in regards to the marijuana industry, and I get a phone call that, and during this time period too, I was dealing with a lot of like effery, like
Effery?
Fuckery.
The fuckery? Oh,
yeah, the fuckery, the Bay Area fuckery.
Yeah.
So going through that, there was a lot of drama. It could have turned into an FX series on TV. And I ended up maxing out all my credit cards. I liquidated my IRA, which is a traditional investment account. I liquidated my stocks. I did whatever I could, almost liquidated my precious metals, which would be gold and silver. I basically went for broke, right? And then I went broke at that time period. And so I'm at this place in the marijuana industry, and I receive a call that my brother had passed.
Wow.
And so I was like, damn, I thought I was at rock bottom, and who knew it could have gone even lower at that point? Like, I'm doing something I don't want to do, and I get word from my stepmother that my brother died, because that's her son. And my brother, who is a comic book nerd, well, he was the one, in a sense, would be like my uncle to me, because we are about 15 years apart. He's almost like a second father to me. And that hit me hard. Like, that hit me really hard. It made me reevaluate in real time at that spot that I need to make adjustments now, that there was more things worth living for. And so I was dating someone at the time, and I went over to my ex-girlfriend's house there, and I actually even contemplated, it wasn't anything like was a serious thought, but was like, wouldn't it just be better to off myself? Like, what is it that I'm living for? I don't even know what I'm living for. Yeah. Like, at this point, I can't even off myself because my brother's gone. And how messed up a son would I be if I start offing myself?
And in case anyone doesn't know what off, he's talking about suicide.
Because I was out there down in La Jolla looking over at this beach. I was just like, man, it'd just be so easy to just jump over into the waters right there. Yeah. Just be done with it. But damn it, Derek, why'd you have to die? And so that made me like just examine, like, that'd be very selfish of me if I were to even do that. But that was just a thought. So I'm not sure if I would have carried it out, but at the same time, it was just a thought. And we took care of his funeral, cleared out his place, because he was a collector of comic books and movies. And it took a while. The guy loved to collect everything. And so then I finally got that second win of like, I'm going to start working back on my purpose. I'm going to do this YouTube thing, because during the whole time with the YouTube thing, I always gave myself a bunch of excuses. I don't know how to video edit. I need to get a camera. For the longest time, I had to buy a camera, was on my list of things to do for 5 years. And I never went to go buy a camera. I didn't do any of that. So that's when I started to say, I'm going to focus on my passions and I'm going to pursue what is my purpose. And then my ex-girlfriend, we broke up because she was like telling me that I need to go hurry up and go get a job somewhere else. And I was like, no, this is the thing I'm going to do. I'm not going to be distracted anymore. I'm not going to be chasing after the shiny object. I wanted to go to LA to do YouTube. And I wanted to go to LA. Personal training wasn't anything, but I wanted to do YouTube, anything in media. And so I explored that path. I started to do whatever I can to learn about the media craft. And during this time period, one of my very first videos, I was at a friend's apartment and I was playing with around my camera, and you can actually see it in a vlog. Well, that day when I woke up, because I drove down from LA to the Bay Area many times. And I was like getting this wind about blockchain technology. Bitcoin was all over the place. You know, it crashed and all this. And I was like, man, I kind of like, good thing I dodged a bullet on that, because it was something I probably would have invested in. Because naturally, if you're investing in stocks or you're investing into precious metals, you have this natural inclination to start to be like, oh, what's the best investment thing? But the thing is, I didn't even know that myself. I didn't know I was even passionate about that. Even though I was doing the financial education, I didn't even know I loved it.
So you did actually go to school and learn finance?
I didn't. This was all, I'm an autodidact. Everything I learned is self-taught. Like everything.
Beautiful.
That's the thing, is like everything I've learned from the media, photoshopping, Video Premiere Pro, content marketing, content strategy, all that's self-taught, like literally. And the finance stuff, the financial education, which they should be teaching in schools. Like that's the number one thing they should do, and money management. Those are the two main things. And after that should be holistic development, developing yourself. But anyway, so then, where was I? Going onto the YouTube, I started to get into blockchain technology, and I'm there with my camera, and I'm about to start this video, and I'm like, and this is after the Bitcoin crash, right? And I was like,
2013, right?
2017.
17, oh.
And I didn't have any money into it or anything, but I was like really curious about blockchain tech, because Gary Vaynerchuk was talking about it. And before I went to LA, I actually had on Flipboard, which is like this social media app for flipping in magazines. I had an account that I was curating artificial intelligence articles. So I was really into artificial intelligence with no like any kind of like, just reading about articles about it, right? And I ended up getting 1,000 followers one day, and I'm going like, what the hell? You know? But then I got away from all that. So back to the blockchain technology. With the blockchain technology, I was like, all right, no, I'm not going to go after this shiny object. I'm going to go right into YouTube. And so that's what I did for the past 2 years. I started doing a YouTube, and naturally that progressed me, leveled me up in so many ways that I can speak on camera, that I can edit, I can teach people how to set things up. And that's when Bitcoin started going off again. I'm like, holy crap, if I had just put money back in 2017, what the? But it comes full circle, because I went after my purpose. I got back into my financial education. I'm just like, well, you know what? At least I know I really love the technology.
So would you say that in some sense, or in some shape, way, or form, the loss of your brother, his death, gave you life?
Absolutely.
That's what I get. I was like, damn. Because death really changes people. And it can also motivate people too. And not to give an ode to death, because it's not about death podcast, but death changes people, and sometimes for the worse and sometimes for the best. And I'm really proud of you as your friend, as your brother, that you were able to take that loss and use it as a motivator, where most people would take a loss and just keep spiraling downward and downward and downward and downward until eventually they off themselves, like you say. So that is the most crucial part that I feel that like I want to highlight for you, because if you allow me, I think that would be like the abyss that you went through, and figuring out that in one way, shape, or form, life was pushing you to do this holistic technology, AI, what you have right now, slowly, and like teaching you, okay, until eventually, all right, you're not gonna learn? How about now? And so now, based off, now we've talked about the past, we've talked about the present. So what do you see for the future when it comes to the technology, the holistic developments, everything that you're creating? Because think about, I appreciate more about your content. I'm not trying to be rude here, but there's a lot of people out there, and I don't want my own ego to kick in, but give me a moment here. It's just, there's a lot of fake people out there. Let's just put it on the table right now. There's a lot of fake people. There's a lot of fake wokeness. There's a lot of fake, I'm trying to help you make money bullshit, just trying to make content just to catfish or what is it, fish to get content or to get people.
Clickbait.
Like clickbait and all that good stuff. Well, not even good, just like, and I don't get that from you. Since day one when I saw your content, so I was like, who is this man? Like, who is this? When I like couple years ago right now, I saw your content and I was like, who is this man? Like, I gotta meet him, I gotta vibe with him. And like, I just said to the man upstairs, like Jay says, or I said to universe, all right, whenever he's ready, whenever we're ready, we're gonna cross paths for sure. And so I find that a lot of people are currently, even before COVID, in yearning of a dream or of a vision, and a lot of what holds them back is themselves. And I feel that hearing your story and hearing how you kind of did hold yourself back in the beginning, and then you were able to let yourself go and just say, let's go with it. And hearing that you rose from that abyss, you didn't come out perfect. I won't, like, no one comes out from the abyss perfect. You have scars always, but you were able to pick yourself up. And you also learned, I'm assuming, not to put words in your mouth, but that there's a feather bed at the bottom.
A feather bed?
Yeah, there's always a feather bed. So I say to people, you jump into the abyss, right? You let go, you let life take you wherever you need to go, whatever healing you need to do, whatever, if you need to travel, if you need to like break up with the person that you were with for like 5 years or whatnot, in order to find yourself, because first you got to be with yourself and be okay with yourself, or you got to do something for the self. You jump into the abyss, and so many people are like, oh my God, the cliff, I'm going to die, or that ego death, a lot of people mention. But what they don't know is that if you have faith, faith will get you far. Faith will help you. Faith will keep you going. Now, I'm not talking about faith on a monotheistic God, but faith in yourself, in a higher self, in a higher, that someone or something is outside of this, is taking over and watching over you. So that's the feather bed. Because you jumped into that abyss. You saw the cliff. You thought about it. But the feather bed was there to help you rise and be like, no, we're going to rise from here. And so that's what I appreciate more about hearing all of your story. And so now going back to the future, I see now that you're transitioning, not transitioning, but incorporating more about artificial intelligence, a lot about, as you just said, cryptocurrencies, and talking about holistic. Now, what would you say would be the connection between technology and spirituality for you?
Well, spirituality can be defined in many ways, but spirituality, if we take into the sense of the self, it's what excites you, what are you passionate about, what are your gifts, what's your calling on this planet, what is your purpose? Now, whether you believe in a God or if you are atheist, it's still the same. You can still be spiritual and be an atheist. There's no, it can be reconciliated together. And so what drives you to do what you do? And so that's what has now driven me, is that I see the merger of technology and spirituality. In a sense, if you want to discover your gifts, you can have a recommendation system like an artificial intelligence that could work like an app that can recommend you things, recommend you content that you're interested in. And eventually, as you keep learning more about this content and you're engaging with this content, and the artificial intelligence is understanding that you're engaging with it, and at the same time, it can tell your reactions, whether it can read your face or read the words that you write, because GPT-3 is a natural language processing system from artificial intelligence. If it starts to take that into account, it'll keep recommending you stuff where it actually helps as a personal development artificial intelligence, because you're interacting with it. So that's how I kind of see the spirituality and the personal development, the self-development, the holistic development go with the technology, because you are driven by your own spiritual energy to go after something. So why not have a technology that can help you to augment your learning experience along with your teachers, along with your parents or whatever? But what if you don't have parents? What if you don't have a mentor? But this artificial intelligence is going to help you somehow. And so that's how I kind of see the future is that spirituality, self-development will be with artificial intelligence. There will be recommendation systems. There will be, who knows, maybe a wearable device where it will, like I said, recommend things to you. It will track your sleep. It will track what you're eating. It will kind of remind you like, hey, you're eating too many burgers, or hey, you need to start doing some more walking, because it can track your biometrics, right? And so that could be seen like an invasion of privacy. But the thing is, we give up our privacy every day. The fact that you have a phone, you've already given it up. There's really no way around it. But the thing is, that's where blockchain comes in, because blockchain is decentralization. Blockchain, you can start to control your own data, right? So whatever data you're feeding into this artificial intelligence, and this artificial intelligence is reading, well, you can control that data, and you can have set features on that data where it's not being given to some outside entity that you don't want it to do. So I see the merger between blockchain tech with artificial intelligence, with cryptocurrencies, with your own self-development, because you're engaging with content on the internet anyway, because the internet is run off of an algorithm. YouTube is run off an algorithm. An algorithm is technically a narrow artificial intelligence. It does a specific function. So if you have a narrow artificial intelligence feeding you stuff that will help you with your personal development and your self-development, like you get some spirituality, you get some metaphysical philosophy videos, spiritual philosopher videos. You get some videos from me where I'm attempting to merge the tech and the spirituality. You'll get some videos where it teaches you how to use a camera, how to audio, do some audio editing. It can merge it all together and feed you content that's relevant to you to aid in your development. And when you interact with that development, what if it does something like grants you a token, like a cryptocurrency? And there'll be different levels or different kinds of cryptocurrencies that reward you depending on what you do. You create content, it'll give you one specific kind of crypto. If you earn certificates off of this content, it'll give you another kind of crypto. So it's just like, that's where I see the future is going. There is going to be a merger between tech and personal development, spirituality. It'll merge it all in one, and the thing that's going to drive it is content media, video, audio, writing. What I say to you is media. It's going to be fully interwoven as one. And that's, to me, is the value of holistic development, understanding the core of your spirituality that's aligned with nature, at the same time ushering new technologies that could one day maybe be sentient one day. So that's just like, that's kind of like thoughts that run in my mind a lot. But all I know is I'm creating content. I'm going to work on my steps. And if someone happens to create it, I'm happy, because that is what drives me. Is if we can create a program that can help people become the best version of themselves, to self-actualize, so they can find their passions and follow through their purpose and make a better society, then I'm winning.
Wow. See, I'm not knowledgeable in everything. I feel like I know a little bit, but a lot of things, most of the things, 99% of things, I have to research, or I have to ask. I always ask questions, and if I don't know anything, I will ask 100 times over just to double check. And so I didn't even know until now that was a possibility. You literally just made it clear and vivid in my brain that I'm just like, holy shit right now. I'm like, I have chills, because I never thought of AI as that. I thought of AI more as, I've always been disassociated or disconnected from AI in my personal experience, to be quite honest. And I felt like AI was like, I feel like the Matrix, it's too much technology. But then at the same time, I'm hooked on my fucking phone every day. You see me trying to post content. You see me trying to give more of a platform of things that are going on in the world. If you follow me, you know I'm a political philosopher in training. And that, what you just said, did it for me. That's what just allowed me to embrace it. So I thank you for that, because before this, I was still hesitant to even hear about blockchain. And even when I would see like notifications about blockchain or about technology and AI, I was just like, I don't know. Because here's my thing. A lot of people may be in the similar situation because they hear AI and they just think negative. They think, like, for example, Sophia, like, oh, she can talk, she can walk, she's not, in some countries, she's a person. And what are we going to do when she decides, oh, you know, Terminator 1, you know, iRobot, Terminator movies, Skynet, you know, that's the first thing that comes in people's brains. The Matrix, for example. And so I think, yeah, Hollywood may have infected my mind a bit. But I thank you, and I'm going to keep thanking you, because a lot of people, I bet, who are listening would never thought that even existed. And so now, adding on to what you just said, I feel that if that is the case, that we're looking towards the future, and that's the future of AI and technology and blockchain coming together, then my only concern that I would have as a spiritual philosopher would be, what do we do with the content creators who are not authentic, and the ones who are robbing the narrative of the shaman, the real shaman, the indigenous shaman, the people who come and were birthed into their position in their tribe, not some random ass dude from fucking Santa Cruz or from Marin who just went to Brazil for 6 months and learned how to do a ceremony a couple of times, and then all of a sudden he's a fucking shaman. No. That's what I don't like. That's my fear. My fear is that these individuals who feed off of that, there's such a thing as spiritual ego, and we've talked about this in the past, and I feel like this is a perfect time to talk about it, is that, like, my fear with blockchain technology is that those who, not just in spiritual side, but also in the sense that want to profit off of others, knowing that, oh, they need, for example, like, they need sex, or they need porn, for example. That's a big problem we got. They're gonna try to keep feeding it, you know. How would you envision, and I know this is probably a hard question to ask, but I'm going to try to see, how would you envision a method in the AI algorithm to be able to automatically distinguish or discern between the real, authentic, spiritual, and the the ones who are doing it just for clout, or doing it for money, or doing it to have power? That's where my question, and that falls under ethics of AI.
So with that's where blockchain technology, the beauty of blockchain technology will come in, because the decentralization nature of blockchain is that it's based off of a consensus. The reason why it's called decentralized is because you can have your phone device, which has Bitcoin. I can have Bitcoin. Jason over here can have Bitcoin. Yeah. His wife can have Bitcoin. Grover can have Bitcoin. All these other people have Bitcoin, and that maintains the decentralized nature of Bitcoin. Now, we all have a vote to how Bitcoin is used. And I'm being very simplistic about this. Now, if you bring this over to content, if we have a collection of people and we start to rate that content of this spiritual egoist, using their content for only monetary gain and attempting to dupe their followers or subscribers, then people can rate that content. And through that consensus mechanism, then that content will be recorded on the blockchain, because a blockchain is a ledger. It's like an accounting book that all of us have on our phones when we're, we can check on it basically. Then that can verify if this content creator is good or not. And of course, there will be some subjectivity to it.
Yeah.
But through time, our process will become better. Now, if you're talking about the artificial intelligence, well, this is why there will be decentralized artificial intelligence where you can have control over the artificial intelligence. Meaning that when you're on YouTube, the algorithm is going to feed you what you're going to look for.
Yeah.
And you can't control that. You can't adjust the parameters on that algorithm. You can by like, oh, like let me, I'm gonna go start watching underwater basket weaving, or I'm gonna watch about horseback riding or something like that, and then you can start making the algorithm go one way. But with your own artificial intelligence recorded on the blockchain, the ledger, then you can see exactly what your artificial intelligence is doing, and everyone else can see it and they can review it. So if your artificial intelligence, that let's say this spiritual egoist is programming their artificial intelligence, is attempting to manipulate the system, it still requires Jason, his wife, yourself, Grover, me, all these other people to say that one's a bad apple. This one should not belong within the ecosystem of our blockchain. And then they will get their points deducted in minus of their cryptocurrencies or what have you, limited access to the ecosystem, because the ecosystem, Bitcoin, is associated with Ethereum. Ethereum is associated with Polygon Matic, with Engine, with all these other crypto projects. So there is a consensus built into blockchain where we can see it on where this is where you get into the privacy thing. But if you are willing to show what you're doing on the blockchain, then we can review it. And we know that this is what this person is doing, and it's not matching with all the things. It's not matching with our values. It's not matching with our principles. That's why there's certain projects like the Cardano project, which is the token ADA, is I like it. They're in Africa right now. They may be going to El Salvador. They're bringing their values, their principles, and bringing financial services to the unbanked people, to the underserved people of around the world. And so this is why it's so beautiful how I see blockchain, because we can control the content. Control it, but it takes the group. We can make sure it's the good content. We can see what's happening with our artificial intelligence. We can see what's happening on our financial services. We can, the banks, we know where our money is going, and we're earning interest off our money. It's like, I got to slow myself down because my mind's going to start racing, because there's a lot of things.
I'm here for it. Like, there's no time limit. Trust me. There's we can go as long as you feel like it. But
that's all I gotta really say about blockchain, because honestly, we can keep going. The rabbit hole, people like going down the rabbit hole on YouTube. Well, with technology, you can keep going down the rabbit hole there too.
So to understand and interpret what you just said, so pretty much it's, would you say, a system within a system within a system within a system within a system,
and you're an integral part of the system.
But it's different than the system that we live in currently, and in the sense that the system that we live in currently is mass media, TV, what is other forms of media that is paid for most likely by advertising that I fucking hate with a passion. I hate going on certain apps and just getting like those ads and ads and ads. I'm like, I'm so done with this. And so a lot of people are hating that and trying to find something else to get there, because everyone likes content. We like to watch stuff. We want to be entertained. We want to kill time as well. And I can see that. I can visualize that now. And I'm trying, and if I'm speaking slowly, it's because I'm trying to speak, but also interpret and just digest what you just said, because it was like a glimpse into the future for me. Like, in a future that's possible, in a future that's plausible, in a future that can make waves and changes on not just a small Bay Area level, but on a whole global level. If we start going into political and collabing here and talking about like how we can liberate stuff, liberate people, liberate governments, this is going against the establishment as well. And so, yeah, it's a monster that you just... a good monster, it's like Yu-Gi-Oh. I like Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, I don't know if you watched Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid, but it's like that when whenever you fought, if you didn't watch Yu-Gi-Oh, you need to go watch this and then come back. But when like at last card, and Yugi pulls the last card and he's like, I heart of the cards, and then he puts the last card, and it's like, what was it? Dark Magician of Black Chaos, the most powerful magician of all magicians, out of nowhere comes out, and then just annihilates the whole.
Well, at that point, you're gonna that's why I want to slow down a little bit, because we can get into non-fungible tokens, NFTs. Then we can get into virtual reality.
What is NFT? I don't even know what NFT is, to be quite honest.
A Bitcoin, an ETH, an ADA, a VET, or all these are cryptocurrencies. Technically, they're crypto assets. Some of them are more cryptocurrencies, like Dogecoin kind of is more of a currency.
To the moon.
to the moon. And with those are fungible tokens, meaning that they are divisible, right? NFTs are not divisible. I mean, yeah, you can copy, paste, and show it on someone else's phone, yeah, but the thing is not recorded on the blockchain. It's not authentic. I can go get a Mona Lisa, and if I had the skill, I can replicate the Mona Lisa. But the thing is, my Mona Lisa is not going to be more expensive than this Mona Lisa. In fact, if I found I was trying to pass my Mona Lisa off as the real thing, I'd go to jail.
Yeah.
But this Mona Lisa, we inherently know that this is the only Mona Lisa painted by Leonardo da Vinci. So an NFT, a non-fungible token, meaning that there is only one replication, one copy of this particular painting or particular token or particular ticket, whatever it wants to be associated with. Or you can have like 10, like let's go with the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. There's this one special Yu-Gi-Oh card, right? And then now you got this other set of Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are 10 copies of that Yu-Gi-Oh card, but that doesn't grant these super abilities that this one has.
Yeah.
So the NFTs are basically like paintings, digital art that's recorded on the blockchain. Or let's say let's say I have an event.
Yeah.
And I charge you a certain price. It'd say like there's only 10 golden tickets, and it's for this price. And you end up buying one of these golden tickets, and it's an NFT ticket.
Okay.
So this NFT ticket, part of this NFT ticket, it has these special abilities where you get access time to me.
Okay.
Where we can be like, one is like, oh, we get to play a pickup game basketball. Another thing is you get a one-on-one session where I teach you how to video edit. Another one is a one-on-one session on asking me all you can about cryptocurrencies.
That explains why I saw that on television recently. There was like basketball players who were making NFTs or something like that, and I was like, well, what the fuck?
And that could be from their game-winning shots. Like Kobe Bryant's, when his stuff starts turning, it's probably their NFTs already, but his stuff, since he's passed away, I'm sure it's greatly increased in value, so that you can take out specific clips where you're the only owner of that clip. And in fact, if, let's say, I'm the owner of that clip, and you're on YouTube or theta.tv, which is another decentralized project, and you decide to repost my NFT of Kobe Bryant making a game-winning shot, you have to give me royalties to my NFT, or you get subjected to some kind of fines or penalties.
Okay.
You know, so it's like I can get royalties from this, or you can get access from me. There's so many, it can go very much further. And that's why when you start going to augmented reality, meaning like this ball isn't real, or this isn't real, but it's a digital representation. So when I turn it off my phone, then it's not there, and then it's back on. That's augmented reality, right? Or it's in virtual reality, and it will grant you, now let's say we're in a virtual reality environment inside of a computer simulation, and this NFT allows you access into different portals within that virtual reality. So it's like, that's why it's a lot of ground to cover.
So like, kind of like in the Matrix when the keymaker.
Exactly. The key is the NFT.
Yeah, the key is the NFT. So the keymaker is the one who's like, I have one purpose, and my purpose is to give the door, which door, the door with the shining light, and then he goes in and he finds out.
That's right. You can even create NFT rooms, NFT real estate. Like, so that's why it gets very complicated. And I've only done preliminary studies on NFTs because I'm focused more on the blockchain project side and the crypto assets. But yeah, you can go very far, and it's going to be integrated deeply with technology and society and how our economy is going to function. There will be virtual economies connected to real world economies. And then, there's a project that links them together called the Oracle projects.
The Oracle projects?
Oracle. So remember the Matrix, the Oracle,
yeah,
right?
the Oracle. That's why I was like,
she's the conduit to the real world to the fake world or something like.
She's like
something
the
like
bridge
that, right?
between both, but
Yeah.
there's like a whole bunch of conspiracy theories that like the whole Matrix was based on her and that like she knew the truth and everything, and like I'm not gonna jump off to this. I digress.
We go metaphysics, or I think
Yeah.
Like anyway.
So, but what is the Oracle project?
So the Oracle project is just that. Basically, it takes outside data in the real world and it transmits it into the blockchain technology projects or virtual realities, and vice versa. It can be vice versa. Okay. So if something's happening on, let's say, a token's representing oil out in the real world, it needs a proper oracle, a blockchain technology project, to relay that information, to have no errors in that information, and represent it inside of the blockchain technology project or the virtual world.
So, like, for example, let's say in the Amazon right now, there's like, currently they're fighting in the Amazon in Brazil, they're fighting to keep the Amazon alive. They're literally going to go to, what day is it today? They're going to vote.
The 30th.
Today.
Wednesday.
Today, the Supreme Court of Brazil, actually go research that. They're going to vote to see if the indigenous people have rights to their own land, which clearly they should. But the president wants to knock them off. He wants to sell off. He wants to burn pretty much most of the Amazon, which is conspiracy here, but Amazon fires that happened recently. Go research a little bit more about that. But so if I were to like make videos of what's really going down and make an NFT on that, I could pretty much send that to the Oracle and have that be sent to people who want to content on what's really going on in the world.
Yeah, like theoretically, say I don't want to go outside my realm of knowledge with the specifics, but that does sound, that sounds like exactly, because sometimes there's suppression of media. Yeah,
and I think that's the most, if we start looking into like, okay, how can we A, benefit society, and B, also feed ourselves, because at the end of the day, we still have to feed ourselves with some sort of economy, whatever it's Bitcoin or cash or silver or whatever we choose to agree to. We still have to feed ourselves. We still have to trade. We still have to buy stuff. And so I bring that up because I feel that that's something to keep in consideration when thinking about blockchain technology. And if it's ever the case that you find yourself creating your own Oracle system or your own NFT or something that someone can create to spread the word. Because, for example, he who holds the narrative holds the truth. Not the truth. He who holds the narrative holds the story. So an indigenous woman who passed away recently, her name is LaDonna Bravebull. She was my mentor, and I love her to death. And she once taught me, and said, he who holds the pen holds the narrative. And so the reason that's why I'm bringing this up is because I feel like in honor to her, like everything that's going on in the world with indigenous tribes, indigenous population throughout the whole world, not even just America, U.S. I'm talking about South America, Central America, Canada, all of the Americas, even in a couple indigenous tribes, indigenous populations in Europe, Africa, everything. There's so much information, but there's also a lot of censorship. For example, when Facebook first started, there was a lot of videos that you can see right on the spot when people were recording, hitting that live button, and you can see live what's going on. And that's what triggered this whole, like, we need more and more and more of this truth that's going on, because I'm not physically in Idaho or in Dakota. I'm not in South America to physically see or even hear or know what's going on unless I'm associated in some way, shape, or form with these people, connect directly. And so I can see NFTs being a great asset to that, helping people, helping indigenous tribes, helping underdeveloped countries show their narrative and say, no, this is what's really going on in the world. Do you want to know what's going on in El Salvador? Mm-hmm. Here, buy this NFT, help El Salvador.
Yeah, and it's verified on a blockchain, and it came from them. Yes. That's how, in essence, how it works. And like, if anyone would leave comments down below if you want to correct us on that, but yes, that's the idea.
I'm just a philosopher here trying to dissect and trying to see which angle we can go about this. Damn.
And that's why, to me, technology is very powerful because, you know, when you're overly spiritual, you might go against it, even though you're using your phone or whatever. The thing is, it's like technology has great powers to it. It's allows us to be interconnected on a global scale, and it's changing things. I mean, it's changed my life.
It's helped bring people together.
Exactly. And it's like there should not be a separation between the spirituality of a person, their self-development, and the tech, because they can coincide together. And they can bring sources of information that need to be seen, that need to be verified, that can be trusted, so we can begin to solve those issues at the source of the problem.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think here is like one thing that, for example, from my narrative is that I say to people, what you see on social media is what you get in real life. Like if you see my comments, if you see how sometimes I go on my little tangents and all that, it's like what you see in person, that vibe, that energy, I transmute that into words, into Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spiritual Philosopher, podcast now. And I want this to connect people. I want this to be, in essence, an asset to people, to be like, oh, based off this podcast, I was able to learn about this, NFTs, blockchain, AI, being spiritual is okay, that it's all connecting, it's all becoming one. Whether you want to accept this or not, that's our future. Like everything's connected. We're one human race. And so whether
Collective consciousness,
and whether if you're X, Y, or Z religion, you must admit that you breathe, you feel, you have reason, and some way, shape, or form, you're not that different from the person to your left or to your right.
Yep.
And so
yeah, so like when you break us down into atoms, into quarks, there is no, it's just
no, and there's
it
like,
is what it is.
And there's also like there's no scientific proof that we are different on an
atomic level.
Atomic level. Like people try to do this whole, it's like, not to digress, but there's so many people that say, oh no, people from this side of the world are actually different than me and this and that. Like there's no science that actually like legitimizes and shows that. So man, I thank you for sharing the future, giving us a clear and vivid example of how blockchain and the future. I thank you for sharing your story. I thank you for just giving a moment right now for those who motivated you, inspired you, gave you life. And is there anything else you feel like?
Oh, no. Thank you for allowing me to share. I normally don't really like to speak too much on myself, but it's a different surreal experience to have me talking about like more of my personal beliefs, and I thank you for allowing me to share on your platform. And so I hope you continue success on this. Thank you. Would be excited to come back if you ever invite me back.
Oh, for sure. We're gonna vibe off a lot of things. But where can people find you? What's the socials? What's all the good stuff?
With all the socials. So I have orcunity.online, which is my website. You can do orcunity.com too. There's a long story to that. Okay. Right. And that's my personal website. Or you can type in orcunity, which you'll find right there on the YouTube. I'll be the first search result. And for Instagram, I'll be at Scott, SCOTT .TIEEE, 3 E's. And yeah, that's about it.
All right.
Oh, and also the Tip Network. Just type in the Tip Network.
Yes.
THPP.
You got to get Grover
Network,
up in here.
And you can see more of my the dark side of my personality, the fun jester side, I like to call it.
I love it. All right. Well, this is the Spiritual Philosopher. You guys can follow me on Instagram, Facebook. How you call it? My name is Lobo_Despierto, or if not, you can look for the Spiritual Philosopher on Instagram. Website's coming soon, all of that good stuff. I'm trying to build it all from the ground up. First and foremost, thank you, Jay, for taking the time
thank you, Jay.
to record.
Jay Worldwide in
the house. And thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Wait, hold on. This is going on YouTube, right?
Yeah, this is going on YouTube.
Make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that bell for more notifications.
Facts.
Gotta catch all this man's latest videos.
Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
All right. Peace.
Good night.
Are we done? We're done?
Yeah, buddy.
Oh shit. My bad.
Thank you, bro. Hey,
that was
powerful.
Hey, fucking A, dude. Hey, magical, bro. I mean, it looks really good.
That was.
I mean, that's just the first one.
Damn.
And I was like, I had goosebumps, and I was locked in. I mean, dude, the more of this you do, oh shit, I gotta stop this. Stop recording. Oh damn, I didn't even record the whole thing. Just kidding. Don't pull a Jason. I've done that before. Yeah, 1 hour.